In this video, I'd like to demonstrate the process required and describe the tooling necessary to form lightning holes in your airfoil rib. After you've located the airfoil rib lightning hole locations, and I've drawn a layout line on the back side of the airfoil rib for demonstration purposes for clarity for this video. You're going to have to enlarge these pilot holes up to accept the size required for your chassis punch. Obtain chassis punches from your instructor or the tool crib for the correct size needed to make the lightning holes. You'll have to disassemble the chassis punch, and it's made of 3 parts. It's got the cutter, which is threaded. It's got the through bolt, and it's got the cutter support. I want to check the size of my through bolt, and I'll get a hole gauge, and I go along here and check that my bolt is a 3/8 inch diameter bolt, so I'll need to enlarge these pilot holes to 3/8 of an inch. 2 methods can be used. You can use a regular 3/8 inch diameter drill, but when drilling through light aluminum, I find that it does not make as nice a hole. I like to use a step drill. The problem with a step drill is that you can go oversize, so you have to be careful that you don't go oversize. I like the step drill because it does a nice smooth job as I'm going through. So I'll reassemble my chassis punch here and enlarge the hole for the large and the small chassis punches. My large chassis punch, I can check, it also has a 3/8 inch diameter through bolt. So both holes will be enlarged to 3/8 inch diameter. Connect my airline. I can just drill this here on the table, holding it in my hand securely. Stop. Check. My through bolt doesn't fit, so I got to go larger. So I'll go one size larger. Stop. Check again. Almost fits. So I'll go one size larger. And there I have it, a 3/8 inch diameter hole for the chassis punch for the large lightning hole, and I'll just repeat the process for the small lightning hole. Oh, one more size. That should do it. So now I've got the 2 holes made for my chassis punch, or other name for this tool is called a knockout punch. I like to use the cutter on the underside here, and so I place the body support on the top and the through bolt. Thread on the cutter. Grab an adjustable wrench from the tool cabinet and just tighten it on down the through bolt, holding the rib in your hand. It's all it's necessary. You don't have to put it in a vise. And all of a sudden the through bolt gets easy to turn. That means that the cutter has pierced completely through the material, and just pop it out, and I have a nice hole in my rib. And now I need to disassemble the chassis punch. And remove the cutout portion of material. Back together so it doesn't get lost, and repeat the process to make the large hole. Once again, I'll place the body support and the through bolt on the back side and the cutter on the inside of the rib. continue to rotate it, and all of a sudden it gets very easy. I can rotate it by hand. I don't have to bottom it all the way out. It's gone all the way through. Push it out with my thumbs. It pops out. And there I have 2 holes of the correct diameter for the flanging tools that I'm going to be using. Take apart your chassis punch. Remove the blank piece of aluminum and reassemble the chassis punch. The reason I like the cutter on the inside is because it pulls through this way here as it pierces. It leaves virtually no burr on the inside where it's hard to get at, and all the burr is on the outside. Also, if the chassis punch had a little damage on it, or when students put it in the vise, it does get marks on it sometimes, and that will cause a stress riser, a notch in the lightning hole that you've just pierced through. So you'll want to remove that. I'm using a fine file here, and I'll go around the lightning hole, removing the burr. And if I come to an area where there's a little stress riser, just work it out locally. The large one, the burr's been removed. And the small one, a little more burr over here. Now the burr's all removed. I like to get myself some emery cloth, and this is 280 grit. You can use anywhere from 240 grit to 100 grit. A finer does a little better job, and we're going to now sand the inside of these holes that we've just deburred, because we want to remove any sharp edges. Any sharp edges that are going to cause stress risers. So we just rotate the sandpaper in the lightning hole, and you want to be careful because the sharp edges could cut you. So just work slowly and carefully, keeping the sandpaper between your fingers and the sharp aluminum. And you'll see here I have a nice, smooth, small little hole. Feel the inside. It's smooth. You can work the sandpaper from the inside if you have to. Beautiful. Working on a larger hole. Back and forth with the sandpaper, inside and out, until it's free of all sharp edges and smooth as a baby's bum, is what I say. No stress risers, that's the main thing. So now I've got my flanging tools. You can inspect these flanging tools before I use them. The large one here, pull it apart, check the radius here that it's free of all swarf, any damage that it may have happened. You'll want to report that to your instructor if you find anything that's a problem with this. Check both the male and the female dies and see that they're nice and smooth and free of foreign material. We like to use Vaseline to lubricate these two tools, and the reason for that is because Vaseline is not hard on your body, and so I just apply some Vaseline around the areas where these two tools are going to be pushing against each other. Take the male and the female die, put them back together, give them a little spin, distribute the lubricant. Take the male die, and I'm placing it on the back side of the rib because I want to get the flange going into the inside. Place the female die on the inside, and we'll do the large lightning hole first. Take it over to this press that I have here. At SAIT we have this press, we have a fly press, and if you need to, you could even use a vise to compress the two tools together to make the flange. Bring this down here, centered it, and I've got the flanges on my rib facing downward, and just use my body weight, all 155 pounds of me, pushing down on the tool. And there I have a beautifully formed large lightning hole flange. And we'll repeat the process with the small flanging tool. Take the small flanging tool apart, inspect it for foreign material, any damage. It looks really good. And as a matter of fact, this tool seems to have a lot of lubricant on it, so I won't have to place any on it. So just put them back together. It's got a nice amount of lubricant on there. So I'm going to place the male die into the back side of the rib, female die on the inside, and place it onto the press with the flange of the rib down, and come down and press on it again with the full body weight. Ensures that I've flanged it all the way down. Disassemble my flanging tool. Take a rag, wipe off the excess Vaseline. On the inside and the out. And there I have a beautifully formed lightning holes with flanges in my rib.